is the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Committee meeting on Friday, May 7th at 8 a.m. Thank you for coming. And I wanted to thank Charlie for last meeting. We had okayed all the meetings and he sent them in. So thank you, Charlie. And also a couple of things. We need to assign a minute taker. And I'm so sorry we have to, as a small group, share this responsibility, but if someone could volunteer, that would be terrific.
I'll do it.
I'll volunteer. Oh,
Thank you.
Michael, go ahead.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Michael.
Roxanne, you've done it enough.
Okay.
Thank you. And then we would like, Charlie sent out the minutes on April 19th for everyone to review. Hopefully you had a chance to look at them. I'd like to approve them. Did everyone look at them and read them over? I'll take that. No. That it was.
I did.
Okay, and I did. The only correction I saw was at the very, very bottom, and it's tiny, was the date. It says Charles Kenny, MD, February 5th. So it's just the, it was probably from the template you used.
That's right.
If we could just fix that, then I didn't see anything else. Did anyone else? Everyone's so quiet today.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Thank
Second
you.
it.
Thank you, John. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I make a suggestion regarding minutes right here? Can we also,
Sure.
whoever takes the minutes, we need to have a procedure for distributing them to the rest of the group. Should we have the person who does the minutes distribute the draft to the group, or should we have it submitted to you as chair, Jamie, and then have you distribute it? I mean, it's up to the group, but I think we should have a procedure so we make sure we get them out all the time.
Mm-hmm. I think the minute taker, if he or she doesn't mind CCing everyone, and then we can review them. Does everyone agree? Do we need to take a vote?
Oh, I think it's your prerogative as chair to set up the procedure.
Okay.
I just think we should have a procedure.
Okay, so Michael, when you take your minutes and make a draft form, can you send it out to all of us, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So then the things I just wanted to, I know we had gotten a few letters from people on Lake Drive about dredging. They had some questions, some concerns, and I thought it was important enough to answer their questions and listen and help, so everyone was on the same page. And then as time permits, I know Gary had some time urgent needs for the zebra mussel. So I would like to address that. And then if we have time, get to the other agenda items. So I'd like to open it up, and I'm gonna turn it over a little bit to you, Michael, because you gave the presentation with Mr. Wellingcamp at the select board meeting. So if you want to help, I know Don and Ann and Anita and Henry had questions, and I don't know how many other residents on the street have questions.
Who didn't see the, I mean, there probably are quite a few of you that didn't see the presentation that was really given by Greg. He is really the most knowledgeable person because he and actually Roxanne are the most directly in touch with the GZA, who's the engineering company who does this. But basically, I'm going to, in a nutshell, I think he gave an overview. Roxanne, step in. He gave an overview of where we were and where we were going to put the geobags for the dredging. And there's two options. There's one using geobags in, I think, 4 locations, but the specifics of that is not as important. One is in Greg's house, one is in the Gersbergs, one is by the island across, and there's a fourth. I'm not sure I remember. But GZA was talking to dredging companies to get a more firm quote. And they were talking about not using geobags in these areas, but perhaps pumping the silt directly into Bullard Woods, which is a major undertaking. But these people who do the dredging have much more knowledge about its feasibility than I do, or probably Roxanne and I do. I don't know about Greg. But what they would need to do is they would need to put the pipes clear across the lake. They would be submerged, but there would be pumping stations along the lake that would be boosters, because it's about a mile, it's over a mile from the outlet area all the way to Bullard Woods, and you're going up a hill in Bullard Woods. So they're going to have to give us a more definitive plan on how they propose to do this.
Yeah, the
Um,
big question
go
now,
ahead.
Michael, was also the associated costs with the two different options. Whether we, have all these,
Right. Well, I was going to get there.
Okay.
We had thank you though, but you can always remind me. I welcome reminders. We had a preliminary. Basically, Greg didn't feel totally comfortable until he got better numbers, but basically the number that GZA had given us based on 5 areas was $2.3 million to do this. But they had to really look into it further. And the areas that basically were NHESP has agreed to is the causeway, the lake side of the causeway, the town beach, and a Y around the island, and then down the outlet. And the original project was really to dredge the area around the island, deepen it, and down the outlet so it doesn't become a bog and allows a free flow of the water system, which goes down the outlet. We, at a meeting with NHESP, we asked them to include the causeway and the beach in the project so that when we do it, we don't have to come back and spend a lot more money or spend any more money on engineering costs and money to be spent on forms or whatever we have to do. And they allowed us. They said, yes, you don't have to do it at the same time, but we will grant you it as one project, which was pretty unusual. Usually they don't separate these things, but we appreciated that. What else, Roxanne? The issue was the cove. I'm sure everybody was, that's why I see Anita. Well, Anita's here all the time, but Don and Ann concerned about the cove. The cove was originally, I agree, and I sent Greg a map showing him that it should be part of it. I'm pushing for that. It's a year away when we want to do the dredging, but I doubt it'll be done next year. It'll probably be done the year after, because all of the formalities that have to go through all the agencies that we have to apply for permissions, and the snail pace, seriously, no joke, on GZA's getting us information. So I'm concerned about that. But to those that live in the cove, I am pushing for that because I agree it's such an important thing, and it was originally in it. And I asked Ann sent are you there, Ann? I sent a email to Ann to CC Greg when she sends her concerns around. So we're working on that. I don't know what else to say. It should be part. I sent a email also to GZA, Greg, and Roxanne about the importance of the cove. Roxanne, did you get that email?
Yeah, I did. I responded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, this goes way back before my time, the genesis of this whole project. And the cove, I think, yeah, is a concern. And one of the considerations may be, number one, can we add that into this plan, this project?
It was always in it. I don't know where, I think it just got taken, I think it got bureaucratically taken out by GZA or whatever, not by NHESP.
Yeah, well, one consideration though, because, now you're talking a huge distance in terms of the pumping and having the various barges with the pumping boosters and putting it up on Bullard Woods. The question will be, if that comes back into this project, is there going to be an alternative way? Maybe we have to use geotubes way down by the cove. So I just think that's a matter that has to
But
be
that's
looked
out of
at.
our hands. The other thing is that we won't, to those living in the cove, it won't, there's a formula that NHESP wants us to use in terms of width and depth or whatever above water. So whatever we get, you will get. It's not like the cove will be cleaned out totally. It can't be any more unless we as a group or the town decides afterwards to make the cove, which I'm all for, a separate project of cleaning it out and making it a community swimming hole like it was years ago, which would be a wonderful project for the town and for the community, because it's got parking there, and it's a wonderful place for kids and everybody else.
Charlie has a question.
Michael, would
Yeah.
it make sense to ask them why they took it out?
Yeah, I asked them. They're not sure how. I mean, I was surprised, and I found a map that's not old that has the lines going through to the cove. So I got to find out why that happened. And
And
go ahead, Roxanne.
I think
Anita
that's
has a
really-
question after Roxanne.
No, I had nothing. I think he.
Oh, I thought it was
he thought
Roxanne.
it was me. So.
Oh.
It's Anita.
Hi, it's actually Hank. What Greg Weldkamp had said at that select board meeting was that the cove didn't have any silt buildup. It wasn't an issue. He's wrong. He's absolutely 100% wrong if that's what he believes.
I think he was looking at the last map, and that was because that's where I don't want to defend it. I don't really think this is an issue. He's not going to be the final. I don't think Greg is the final say, or he doesn't even want to be the final say on it. He's really the liaison of the town discussing things with GZA. So I sent Greg the map and I asked him to give me a call, and we should have a call on that. Hopefully we'll have a discussion with GZA on how that happened. And I will inform everybody on that. But right or wrong or whatever is really just taking the energy, zapping the energy away from trying to correct this.
Actually,
and
Michael, it's Anita.
Yeah.
When I questioned Greg at the select board meeting, it was because he said that the dredging stopped before the diversion pipe, before pipeline. And when I asked if it was going on the other side of the pipeline, he said, no, it was not. So that would eliminate the outlet also. And he said there was no silt buildup in the outlet. That was
the outlet, the water flow. I don't mean to get into a discussion, but the water flows from north to south, and the damming of the pipe with the pipes really has caused the outlet to be silted up. I have no idea how the cove got, but it did. So it's a fact. It did. It's a former self, as they say, of what it was. And it should be included. And so I'm on your side on this. So I'm pursuing this.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
I
So
mean-
we can say that for sure the outlet is included.
You're talking about the cove.
No,
Or the
I'm
outlet.
talking about the outlet. Hank was talking about the cove.
Oh, the outlet is absolutely included. The outlet is key to this thing, because that's where that's the throat or the artery of the lake that has to be cleared out.
And this is below the diversion pipe.
The diversion pipe will not be used ever. Let me put it this way, with the administration at the NHESP and with their latest documents of what they allow us and what they won't allow us, the diversion pipe cannot be used because we cannot lower the lake low enough to use it properly.
Okay, but south of the diversion pipe,
Yeah.
the outlet will be dredged.
No, is that, I don't, it should be. That's what we're trying to recorrect that or whatever. So I will give you more information at the next meeting that we have. But I've been pursuing that. I've sent a map and I've sent notice to GZA, Roxanne, and Greg on
Thank you.
this issue.
Thank you.
Anne has a question.
I just want to emphasize, I don't know if you all saw the photo I sent out, but those bulrushes are growing across the entrance to the cove, which is south of the diversion pipe, and they're coming up in the channel even, with, you know, in the deep water in the channel. Last year I could see all these little things pointing up. You can see it on the photo. And also there are some trees that have been down for years. I did call the town once, nothing happened, and they're forming their own little ecosystem and their own little like swampy things around them, and they're submerged so no one can see them.
Right. You know, the problem with a lake is submerged, that you can't see them. Out of sight is out of mind. And that's what happened for 50 years with the pipes, that it was underneath the ground and nobody paid attention to the berm that they built over the pipes, causing the silt not to be able to flow freely. I would love to see a system, I mean, this is just fantasy, of a slow pumping every fall, just out like a certain amount that would have normally flowed out to keep the lake from not silting in again. You know, engineers figure out what would be the normal silt outflow of the lake, and then for a couple of weeks you pump, which was done. You pump it out, that goes down the waterfall or whatever it is from the cove, and it would be so marginal, but it wouldn't be stuck there. But Jamie, I think that Anne has a question.
Wasn't the original plan many years ago to keep the lily pond clean and unsilted, and that's where the silt is coming from? So
No, the silt is not coming from Lily Pond.
where is it coming from?
The silt I apologize, the silt in the causeway might be coming from, but it's not coming from, it's coming from the fact that the silt can't flow out, and the silt is almost 100% natural from vegetation, it's not really, there's not much silt from the mountainside or the water's coming, you know, putting soil in. It's almost 100% natural. What would be the term, Charlie?
It's a degradation of the vegetation.
Yeah, it really is. So that's a world of itself. Around the island and the outlet is a world of itself. Because if that would be the case, you'd have it all silted in all the way from the causeway to the island, and that's not the case.
And Roxanne,
Can I ask you a question about woods?
Roxanne
Sorry.
had her hand up, Charlie, sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Anne, when did you send something in about these submerged trees? And can you send it again to all the selectmen and our town administrator, Michael Canales, as to what the location is of those trees?
I didn't send it. I had called back when Georgia was still town clerk. I had called her, and she had talked to Highway, and they said the owner of the land has to do it, and basically that's word finished. But I can send you an email.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
What, you know, as long as I have you, Roxanne, on the phone, you should have the highway check the bridge that goes over the waterfall.
Yeah.
Because the railing is very low. I've seen kids walking on that bridge and there's really nothing. The railing is almost down to it's like maybe a foot above the walkway, just as a heads up.
Okay, yeah, and I know we have a downed tree over by the dam as well, and I
If-
don't know
if-
if that's been addressed yet, but I know that they have been informed.
Yeah. All right. So
And
let's,
Charlie had a question.
Charlie, go
Michael.
ahead.
Yeah, now we ran into a problem with the Marstonia lustrica that's put a monkey wrench in a lot of stuff that we had been planning to do originally.
Right.
I'm wondering, has there been a good analysis of the consequences of putting all the water in Bullard Woods so that we don't run into any issues there at the last minute?
You know, I used to say at work, the things that worry me are the things that I don't know, you know, like the surprises. And there've been so many surprises because originally the project was for a 5-foot drawdown or 5.5-foot drawdown, which was endorsed by the state. And that's why the state gave us $675,000 as a,
Oh, I know, that's a
grant.
digression. I'm asking a specific question. Have we done any kind of, homework to know that we won't meet obstacles with respect to conservation?
No, I understand the question. I'm just saying to you that the NHESP now has said that we can dredge these areas. We gave them a
That's
group.
not the question. The question is, did we do any
Right.
homework to find out that it's safe to put it in Bullard Woods, period? That's the question.
Well, they know our plan. That's what
I-
they have our plan and they've agreed to it. So I don't know how much
They-
more.
NHESP has agreed to it,
Yeah,
including the Bullard Woods idea.
not Bullard. Wait, did
Well,
I say
that's what
Bullard?
I'm asking about.
You
We're
said
not putting
Bullard
in
Wood.
Bullard Woods. What does Bullard Woods have to do?
I
Oh, Bullard Woods has, I apologize. Bullard's Woods is where it's going to go to, but they have the plan that this is where it's going to go.
And so that we're pretty confident that they're not going to object to that.
I'm pretty confident, yes.
Good, okay.
Yeah,
And
we're confident,
they-
Charlie.
Yeah.
And Michael, a couple of things I wanted to circle back to is, so Mr. Wellinghamp is working on getting a dredging company. And the other part of it is about how long is the length of the project? And thirdly, did it get run by the Conservation Commission?
I don't think we've gone yet to the I think Conservation Commission originally gave us permission to do dredging 5.5 feet to do the dredging.
Okay.
Originally, this is even less invasive than our original plan to do. The conservation gave us permission to do the diversion pipe. And what we're doing is less invasive NHESP than what conservation has already voted on and given permission. Not if they change their mind. The key though to conservation is that we may need to clear some land near the lake in order to put the geobags if we need to do it that way, which is on Greg Wellinghamp's, but I think he already has permission. I don't want to speak for him because he said he already had that issue, but we may need to partner with Concom on certain things to make sure that we can put the geobags in these areas so that we can do the project. And we got to look at the bigger picture of this project than an individual short-term issue, because the long-term repercussions of not doing this are drastic. As I've said, our lake should be looked at as an endangered species just as much as the snail is. If our lake goes, it is going to be so devastating to Stockbridge. If the snails go, you can always take snails from habitated areas, which are in the gazillions, and put them back in the lake. But our lake is just one lake for our community that is so important. So let's keep that in mind, that it is really such an important source on so many levels for us.
And the question was the duration of the project. You
I
didn't.
apologize. The
how-
duration, right. So the duration has to take place in the summertime. It has to take place basically from April through October, as much time as we can. That is because we're not drawing down. Originally, we're going to do it in the summertime because we were drawing down the lake, but we haven't been drawing down the lake. So we have more time if the weather goes, but it's basically a summer project of 5 months. But the engineers will tell us that. I have no idea, Jamie, but it's a summer project. When I say I have no idea, I don't know if it'll be 3 months, 5 months on that level. I don't know.
And
Right.
Roxanne had a question.
Well, no, actually, your very first part of your comment, I wanted to clarify. Greg Wallenkamp is basically the liaison for the town. He's working with GZA. GZA is speaking with and getting estimates from various dredging experts. And so that's what we're waiting for, is those final costs to be able to compare, you know, the couple of different options we have for whether or not we put the geotubes in multiple places or whether or not we pump it across the lake. And I imagine also part of the time estimate is going to be based on what option we go with.
Right, but it's still going to be, Roxanne, it's still going to be a summer project. Sounds like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We
So
know it's going to
whatever
be in
that
the
is.
summer, but the question is, are we going to be able to accomplish this and in what kind of a time frame during a summer season, you know, into early fall? But I think it's going to also be dependent on whether or not we just pump everything directly over and avoid trucking all this stuff or not.
But we'll
And,
find out. I think.
Yeah, we're going to find that out. So, but we're still waiting for those numbers, those actual cost estimates to come in.
Right.
Michael, did you have a question?
Yeah, more of a concern. One thing that I've thought about when this project happens is the amount of water that flows out of the lake to keep Larry Wog Brook habitat happy. And as we're pumping a lot of material out of this lake, obviously the water is going to be going down with taking up the room of the silt that we're taking out of there. And in the summertime, we get pretty low flows. And I'm sure this is a whole thing that the engineers have figured out. If we don't have a certain amount of, rainfall, I mean, obviously the lake is, chock full now and the water is ripping out of the lake. But if we have a situation where it's not, and we have all this project ready to go, that's one of my things that I thought about is just, we're pumping out all these metric tons of silt, and I don't know if the gate works. I haven't seen anybody touch that gate in the outlet in years. It's closed. Just a trickle of water is coming out of it right now. I don't know as this project gets going along and it's a drier spring or summer. We're going to have to make sure that gate works to allow water flow out of that lake for the downstream habitat. So that's just one concern I had. But that's a question for GZA and.
Well, Gary, who is the gatekeeper, I think that gate is still working. We did it a year ago, opened it.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
working. It just needs to be greased. That's all, Buff. It'll be
Okay.
fine.
Michael, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. Oh, Chuck, would you like to speak?
Please, just two quick questions. Does everybody on this committee want to move forward with the dredging, and everybody's in step where they agree that the dredging is the right thing to do?
We've never taken a vote on it.
We've never voted on it. We originally were waiting for the water testing from Dr. Cortman, and then this sort of came up, and so we never took like an official survey or vote. I'm just trying to be honest.
How about unofficially? Is there anybody that's willing to say that they are for it or against it at this point?
I'm 100% for it. And as Michael said, the cove area, when I was a kid, we swam in there. There was a rope swing on the backside. That should be included as well. I'm 100% for the dredging. Absolutely.
It's not. I'm 130%. I mean,
Oh,
this
clearly.
is such a serious. So I think anyone, if they really look at all the repercussions of not doing this, it would be I would be very interested to see how you cannot
Can I
be
make,
for this.
Charlie,
project.
go ahead, Charlie.
I'd like to make a motion that we make take a vote. What's the current committee point of view about proceeding with investigating and going ahead with the dredging? all in favor, say aye. That would be my motion.
Well,
Aye.
And
I'll second your
second.
motion. I
okay,
second.
okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So
Well,
my other
Gary,
question, I don't mean to dominate this. My other question is, does the Conservation Committee have the capability of kicking this can down the road on us for a few more years?
What do you mean? Can you be
Well,
clear?
Sure. It seems that when you watch their meetings that they certainly don't want to dredge, and they've said that, and that they really don't like the idea of the Floridone. So can they make it, do they have the ability? Do we have to get their blessing to dredge? Or as Michael said earlier, they already gave us the blessing and they can't turn that around.
I didn't say they can't turn it around.
I wouldn't characterize the Conservation Commission as being against dredging per se. What I think we need to understand here is we need to keep in mind that every committee in town has a different function, and they enter information into a dialogue. And what we need to be able to do, if we have a unanimous committee in favor of going forward with investigating the dredging, what we need to do is assemble information so that in the dialogue we will prevail. And it's the job of the other committees to put forward ideas that may be questioning of our ideas, but we need to do our homework to do it. So what I would say is that I think that the dredging is going to turn out to be a very good idea. And I think that if we put all of our ducks in a row, we will find it out. And I just would anticipate there'd be a dialogue. That's all, rather than that's the way to go after it, Chuck. I think we need to take every committee has a certain responsibility, and they'll put forward ideas they see it, but it's a Platonian dialogue. We put forward the ideas, we debate them, and the better idea prevails.
Thank you.
And conservation's job is to protect the lake and the watershed and the animals involved in plants. So it's not that they're against, it's that their job is to protect certain areas. And so it has to be, and also we have to work with DEP. So, I mean, there are other, parts to the puzzle.
No, I understand there's lots of pieces to this puzzle. I'm just wondering what the general consensus of the people driving the ship, if they want to move forward and they in their heart of hearts, they really think this is a good idea, if they're just going through the motions hoping it fails. And you answer my questions, and I appreciate that. It's good to know that everybody on this board wants it to happen.
Kate has a question. I see Kate's iPad.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you. It's Kate Fletcher on a new device here. Yeah, my question is, where has anyone been in communication with DEP, and what has been their feedback?
Michael, can you have any information?
We've had many meetings with NHESP, which is really the toughest of the group because of the snail and because of the bridal shiner issues. And what they wanted from us was, what were we going to do to compensate for a take of the snail, a certain percentage. And we gave NHESP a list of things that we are willing to do. I can send that to everybody, of what we're willing to do to compensate for this take of the snail, what they call a take. You have to remember that the snails, that they really haven't found any real snails down the outlet. It's what they call is a potential habitat, which depends on how you look at it, is a very interesting concept. But so we've listed, and they've sort of agreed to these.
Excuse me, Michael, I think my question was whether, I realized that there's the agency that deals with endangered species, but I think I'm asking about the Massachusetts Department
Right,
of.
well, that's the next step. From what I understand, NHESP approves it. So we asked them, if you approve it, will DEP? And they said probably yes. In other words, they're the first line and the most important. And after that, it pretty much follows. The DEP already gave us the approval by giving us, basically the government giving us money for the $675,000.
But that was for a drawdown, right?
No, that was for dredging.
And when was that?
Ooh, about 5 years ago. And then we spent about, of the 675, we spent about $300,000, but we lost the rest because of a timing when everything changed. The timing, we forfeited part of that grant, the 319 grant that was given.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bruce, Ruben, you may.
Has anyone considered the noise that the pumping stations driven by diesel generators and the dredge itself are going to create?
Thank you. It's a good question. Anyone have? There?
Well, let me just say, Bruce, first of all, good to see you. Yes, it's, you know, like you go to a hotel and they go, please excuse the whatever, you know, we're renovating. The summer that it's going to be done may be an issue for people using the lake or living around the lake noise wise. You're absolutely right. It's one of those things that we may not be able to get around because we're not allowed to do the shovel, the physical with shovel to take the silt out. We have no choice but to use a hydraulic system. So you're right, it could be noisy. It's going to be one summer, but it's just, we have no alternative that we know of, Bruce, to this. But it's going to be one summer, and what can I tell you? It's for us old people, one summer is important.
Well,
But
and
in
I'd
general,
like to add, maybe we can quantify through decibel levels from the pumping, you know, the dredging companies, what the actual decibel levels would be, what we can anticipate. So maybe we can quantify that and help, you know, people understand how much inconvenience it's going to be.
I think Bruce is talking about the fumes also. You know, those diesel fumes can be nasty and they're actually unhealthy. So that's something to be considered too. Isn't that right, Bruce? Isn't that what?
Charlie, I'm less concerned about the fumes as the fact that the bowl in and of itself is an echo chamber. And the diesel, there are going to be several pumping stations to carry that slurry up the Bullard Woods.
right.
It's going to be very noisy. It's not a matter of how many decibels. It's going to be, for some people, intolerable.
Mm-hmm. And I had a question, and you may have answered this, Michael or Roxanne. As the dredging, as you take out the material, the silt, and there's more lake and the water will have to fill it in, will that lower the actual level of the lake? Because we're going to dig out the silt. And how will that affect the water level? And
I'm going to tell you off the cuff, maybe Bruce will, as an engineer, the amount of silt that we're taking out relative to the lake is not a lot. It's not that much. The water will find whatever it is, it's going to find its own height, depending on how much rainfall, whatever. But it originally didn't have that silt. Imagine that lake without the silt, it would be the same thing. But we're taking out a fraction of the silt that has been built up, we're talking about. So I can't imagine it making a difference that you're going to see the lake, you know, a foot lower because of this silt, this issue. Sure.
Peter, would you like to ask a question? Peter Strauss.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an observation that about the noise level. If the noise, one of the pleasures of being on the lake during the summer is hearing the concerts from Tanglewood. So if there's a reverse effect, that is to say, if pumping noise gets behind the sound of the orchestra up at Tanglewood, there's a really important cultural asset who's going to be really concerned about that. So I would expect that to be an issue that ought to be thought about.
one way or the other, we have to pump. I don't know how, whether, so we'll bring that up to GCA and get those issues. And that's the beauty about group thinking. You bring up all these issues, so they will be taken into account and discussed.
Chuck, you had a question?
Yeah, two things real quick. I lived on a lake in Illinois in my youth where they dredged just like this. All the water finds its way back in. Either it siphons off on the original barge, or where they put it, which is going to be the woods, it drains back in. And as Michael was saying, the amount of debris compared to the amount of water, it does not affect the lake level, or it certainly didn't when I was younger. I Googled it in the meantime. You can actually tent and quiet down the pumping stations. So they have the ability to do that, to quiet them down with tenting. And thirdly, it's going to be done during the day. They will not be out there. We can dictate the hours, and hopefully it'll be early. Hopefully it'll be a 6 a.m. start and a 3 p.m. finish. But we can dictate the hours of when they're actually pumping and dredging. It won't be at the dinner time hours. It won't be at the Tanglewood hours.
Excellent point.
And hopefully maybe on the Sunday when the Tanglewood is in full bloom in 2022 or whenever, that it won't be, we'll see. But we have to work with the community, but we have to have this thing done. It's got to be a partnership and an understanding. Nobody's going to be totally happy.
Right. And until the year is finished.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Usually all the contracts, and Roxanne can verify, is that, the work, it's Monday through Friday, typically 7 to 3:30 work hours for all our construction projects we've had in the past. I would have to assume it would be the same, or we could, if they wanted a little earlier, like 6:30 to 3 or something. I doubt they're going to work Saturday and Sunday. Weekends are precious to everybody, even the guys that are going to be doing the job. So
I would like.
Mike is right. We usually, there'll be a start date that oftentimes is an end date. But yeah, we control when they're actually operating.
So, Michael, did you have some closing comments?
Well, I wanted to change the subject after everybody's finished. I want to bring up the protocol.
Well, we have
committee.
Okay, hold on. So we have about 15 minutes left, and I know Gary has some time urgent things with the mussel station. So I wanted to sort of give him an opportunity to bring up his need, because I think it's a wage question. So if you don't mind, Michael, I just want to pause that for a second and then let Gary speak.
All set? Okay. I spoke to Doug Cameron, who's head of the Public Access Commission, the other day. And I had asked him, seeing the town has signed the contract with Public Access, if we could get some work done this year. And he came back to me and he said, how about if we put in a floating dock for boat boarding? And I said, that would be wonderful. We were thinking of doing that a few years ago. And you told us it would cost us around $50,000 to $60,000 because it would need to be handicap accessed. So anyway, there are two other things we'd like to do. We would like to have part of the parking lot paved, because every time there's a rainstorm, we get a huge bloom of, airport mix in the water. The third thing, the trees are starting to become unhinged along the shore. We'd like to have the shore, put riprap there or whatever it is they can use to hold the shore in. Now, it's not my responsibility to tell him what to do and what not to do. It's the selectmen, because they're the ones who went into contract with Public Access. So I'd like to pose that the selectmen or the town of Stockbridge has to make the decision of what we can suggest, and I'll make the suggestion to him with their permission. Second, we would like to pay our inspectors $15 an hour. One of the reasons is that we have competition for these people, and Richmond Pond has been paying their people for a couple of years $15 an hour, and our people are starting to grumble a little bit. And also we have one person who has expressed an interest, and we'd like to make her the manager over there, doing scheduling and keeping track of everything that's needed. And we'd like to pay her $20 an hour or something in that vicinity to get this done. Now, in accompanying with this, we're going to shorten our hours from 12 hours a day to 10 hours a day. We're going to run 7 in the morning till 12, and then the second shift is 12 to 5. So we'll pretty much offset these increase in salaries with the saving at a couple hours a day. What else?
Gary, what do we pay currently?
$13.50.
Okay.
And Mike, I need to talk to you on the phone about what information you want our people to take over at the zebra mussel washing station.
Okay.
I'll catch you later. The next thing we need is the town to repaint the white lines that are on the ramp. They're starting to become obliterated. You know, where we have a one line down the center and lines on the outside so we can have 2 boats at a time going in and out. Okay, that is, the other thing was we need the porta potties put in by Memorial Day, and we need them left in through Columbus Day. Last year, they were taken out at the end of September, and our people had to use the woods, which was not such a good idea. Okay, I'm pretty much done.
All right. Roxanne, did you have something?
Yeah, Gary, everything that you just mentioned, if you could enumerate those points and put them into an email to the Board of Selectmen and also to our town administrator, we can put it on an agenda.
I sent it to
address
the
those
town.
items.
I sent it to the town administrator on either Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
All
Any
right.
questions? Patrick has a question. You can unmute.
Sorry. I just want to mention that Jamie and I did look at the trees last week, and there is significant erosion to the point where the trees are starting to become dangerous down, those oak trees, I think they are, down by the water. There's tremendous amount of root exposure. And I think that's going to be something we need to look at, because the cost of removing those trees, if they get to the point where they can't be stabilized, is going to, easily be as much as what it would cost to try to stabilize the bank now. So I think that maybe should be a priority. The other question I had is there a plan to go forward with the composting toilet that the CPC authorized 2 or 3 years ago?
I think that's already been taken care of. Gary Miller over at the Boat Club, I think, has been working on that.
Okay.
I'll ask him to give us some information on that.
Are those trees at the boat ramp the responsibility of the town? I mean, it's not our property.
No, that's public access.
Yeah.
I just don't want to lose them, I mean, it's quite a pretty little area over there, where people hang out. It's also dangerous if,
Yeah, they're massive trees. Yeah.
And just an additional thing, I don't know if Gary knows.
Can I say something
There's
about?
Just a second, Charlie. There's by the boat ramp, there's a fence. There's a part of the fence that's hanging and dangling in the water, and that, I believe it's on the Airedale property, and it's not sort of like legal or okay, and we need to find a way to have that removed, that there's a piece of fencing that's dangling over the water.
I'll take a look at it.
Thank you, Gary. Charlie?
Yeah, before we decide on a strategy with the trees, shouldn't we just at least have some tree guy look at it and see if the trees are going to die because the roots are exposed so much anyway? I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at it, but if the trees are going to die anyway, it doesn't seem like salvaging would be the right way to go. I mean, you know what I haven't seen it, Patrick, but I mean, it makes sense to have somebody take a look at it and predict what's going to happen to the trees.
Well, since Charlie, and Patrick, since all these issues are basically this is town land. I mean, I think it's between the town, because we're under contract with public access. So it's something that should go on the select board agenda.
Yeah.
And we discuss, and we pass this along to public access and have a discussion with them about addressing all these various issues that Gary brought up.
And can we just get a report from Roxanne on the harvester?
Well, we're not there yet, Michael. We're finishing up with Gary's thing. But thank you. Gary, anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nope, that's pretty much it. We still plan to open up on Memorial Day.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Michael, for being patient. Roxanne, did you have any information on the harvesting?
The NOI for the weed harvesting is scheduled to go in front of the Conservation Commission at your next meeting. I believe it's next Tuesday.
Okay, there's your answer, Michael.
I'm not sure I understood that answer. In other words, did what happened with NHESP and what's going on there, Roxanne?
Well, basically, Foresight has this all put together. The DEP actually declined to have a conversation with us and felt that they spent plenty of time on Stockbridge so far, and they have a really full plate right now. So they were just finalizing the NOI for the wheat harvesting, and it will be presented presumably at the next Conservation Commission meeting. So it is ready to go. We did add areas of additional harvesting in the littoral zone on the map, and we are well under 10 acres still. So we'll see how this goes, what the Conservation Commission thinks, and we're moving forward with it.
Thank you, Roxanne. Michael, did you have another question?
No, I'd like to put on the agenda. I've been trying to put something on the agenda for 2 times and it's not been put on. So I don't know when the right time.
But Michael, I emailed you and I told you that this week was really busy with and that we would do it next month, the next meeting. Did you get my email?
You didn't say that on the email, but I'm just saying that I think we need to address, I think it's very important, at least for me it is, to address the role that we have. And I know Roxanne sent out her Article 20 or XX20 of what's going to go before the town on a town vote for the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Committee. But I feel that there is no discussion on the article from us, what we could add to it. There's no discussion on lake management plan from us. I feel that us as a group are not really privy to these things that affect us, that we could give our take or have a discussion on it. I would like in Article 20, it doesn't discuss anything about recreational use of the lake. It doesn't discuss the relationship of the lake to the community in terms of neighbors on the lake or recreation or whatever. These are just things that I think as a group committee, and if we're an advisory to the select board, should be discussed as a group. What should go into this article? There are many issues. I'm just not sure what our role. I'm confused of what our role is as an advisory group to the select group. I know Roxanne, who's the select person's representative, but Roxanne, you're an individual just like we are. You're really, but we're not discussing very important things as a group back and forth or getting information before the decisions are made that we can chime in on it. But anyway, we can discuss that at the next meeting. But
no, I think good points, Michael. And this meeting was full. I didn't ignore you. I did send you an email, and you're very true. Like, I don't get information just as a person from conservation, just like you don't, or Charlie. So yes, Charlie.
I'd like to make a comment, Michael. I think your point is good, but I think you need to become more efficient in your presentations. You spent a great deal of our time this morning talking about stuff, which I think if you'd analyzed it a little bit better, you could have presented the same information.
Charlie,
about
no one
10th of the
talks
time.
more. No one talks more in this committee than
stop.
you do.
Yes.
We're not going to argue. Stop.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying the fact I was asked to comment on this. I didn't even know I was going to comment on this. I thought this was a thing that Roxanne was going to discuss, and I was going to discuss it with her. If people ask me questions, I'm going to answer them. I'm not sure, Charlie, what you're.
I just want you, I think you should be more efficient. We'll get more things done.
Whoa.
Okay, can I make a quick comment here? And I don't want to take a lot of people's time. We can talk about this again in the next meeting. However, the warrant article establishing the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Commission, as it was named, a commission, is a warrant article that's put together by the select board. So it's being put forward by the select board. The definition and responsibilities is certainly in there. The draft of that warrant article is posted on the town website for everyone to see. And recently I just sent the latest version to Michael Nathan. Now, if you have comments about wording or things that you feel would be important, certainly you can communicate that, because that information is public information at this point, that draft warrant article. And I wanted to address a conversation you had before about committee versus commission. That's semantics. What really matters is how this group is defined. And it was defined initially as an advisory group. It would remain an advisory group. So basically nothing's changing. This is merely the attempt to codify this commission, to keep it going, hopefully in perpetuity, to stress the importance of Stockbridge Bowl and the watershed to this town. So that's the intent of this, but certainly any input that or comments that people want to make about the wording, or if something about recreation should be specifically in there, that's fine, but you need to share that now so that we can make modifications to the draft if we so
Thank
choose.
you, Roxanne. Thank you for that. And
That's
Michael,
why I wanted to bring it up.
okay, and I told you we would bring it up the next meeting. Chuck, did you have a quick question? Did you have a question?
Yeah, one thing real quick. I just want to bring to the committee's attention that there's been a fishing boat going full speed, 45, 50 miles an hour up and down the outlet over the last week. And luckily it's been on rainy days because if there was a paddle board out there or the amount of kayaks that are typically out there, there could be an issue. And I wonder, can I share the screen real quick? Is that okay?
Just Steve will have to give you permission.
It's open. Go ahead.
All right. Do you see the Google Earth?
It's opening.
No.
It's not coming up.
All right. Well, my question is, can we put a no wake buoy at the beginning of the outlet? Is that something which the committee be responsible for to do?
No, I can take care of that. Gary speaking.
That's the harbor master can do that.
I'll take care of that.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So we're at 9 o'clock. Is there anything really urgent? Kate, did you have a urgent something? It says Kate's iPad.
No, it can wait, Jamie.
All right. Anyone else? All right.
Just
Mike,
quickly,
you have something?
we did testing last week. There's no stratification in the lake yet. Everything's still mixed from when the ice came off, and we'll be going back out in a couple of weeks. So,
Oh, thank you for that update, Mike.
Yep.
All right. So our next meeting is I wrote it down, May 21st, 8 a.m. It still will be Zoom. I guess town hall will be opening in June, and we'll probably need to have a conversation about how we want to do our meetings, but we can probably either do that next meeting or the meeting after. I appreciate everyone coming. Thank you, Michael, for your presentation. Thank you, Roxanne, and everyone have a nice weekend.
Hey,
Thank you.
right.